What up, Giants Nation? I'm just going to give my feelings on what the Giants have done so far in the offseason in terms of the free agent pickups, potential other moves that they can make, and what I hope they're going to do in the draft. In terms of the free agent pickups, Joe Shane and Brian Daboll made a priority that they wanted to try to fix this offensive line and give Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley a legit chance to function behind a decent to good offensive line. So, with the limited amount of cap space that we had going into this offseason, because of some of the big contracts that Dave Gettleman tied us into, I'm very pleased that we were able to bring in a couple of very solid, not spectacular, but solid veteran offensive linemen, like a Max Garcia, who was actually a Pro Bowl alternate last year. Mark Lewinsky, who was part of one of the best offensive lines in the league on Indianapolis, so he's a solid starting right guard, assuming he's going to get that. And John Feliciano, when healthy, a pretty good center, pretty good bridge center, might even be a good depth piece. And also including bringing in some other young, not completely proven, but solid depth offensive linemen like a Mackinac, like a Jameel Douglas. Mackinac, formerly from the Atlanta Falcons, coming back from an injury that he had in 2021. Jameel Douglas, a solid depth signing. As I mentioned, Max Garcia played on the Arizona Cardinals all over the place, from right guard, left guard, and even center. Pro Bowl alternate. And also they brought back Corey Cunningham, who played a couple of games, started in maybe one or two games on the right side when Matt Parrott went down and Nate Solder was struggling. So you bring him back as depth. And with the uncertainties in terms of Matt Parrott, Shane Lemieux, Nick Gates, because they're coming off injuries, this was a necessary thing to bring in some good offensive line depth. And in terms of some of the cuts that they made, I mean, some of them were very obvious, like Riley Dixon. We knew he was going to be cut. We knew that I thought Logan Ryan was going to be an obvious cut when it happened. Kyle Rudolph, we knew it was going to be an obvious cut when that happened. So, I mean, some of them were very obvious cuts. We knew they were just going to happen. And in terms of the free agents we let go, I mean, Evan Ingram, I doubt it. I knew we probably weren't going to bring him back. Same thing with Lorenzo Carter, Will Hernandez. So best of luck to those guys, but they all needed to change the scenery, and I think it was a smart move to let them go and bring in some new proven players for Joe Shane and his vision of what he wants in this team. And in terms of some players that could still be traded, I mean, we're really just waiting on a holding pattern for what the Giants are going to do with James Bradberry. Are they going to trade him? Are they holding out for maybe a second or possibly a third-round pick for James Bradberry? I know teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans have all inquired about Bradberry's availability, and they're working on maybe acquiring Bradberry in a trade. But there is also a possibility that if Joe Shane doesn't get what he wants for Bradberry, then maybe he keeps him for this upcoming season and even possibly extends him for a year or two onto his original contract and spread his cap hit over the next couple of years. Now, in terms of some good restructures too, you brought back Blake Martinez on a restructured deal. You brought back Sterling Shepard on a restructured deal, which is, it's good because you have two proven guys that can be leaders, but also are coming off major injuries, so you don't know exactly what you're going to get from them. And you're just hoping that they can rehab and get back by August and, you know, help this team out in 2022 and help give them some veteran leadership as well as contribute on the field. Now, in terms of what I'm hoping for in the draft, we all know we need more offensive line help. We know we need help on the tackle position. Andrew Thomas is as sturdy can be, but he's also had a couple of injuries to his ankle, a couple of offseason surgeries, 2 years in a row to his ankle. So who really knows if we can fully trust him, but at the same time, he was developing into a franchise left tackle, 8th ranked tackle in terms, according to PFF, this past season, with no help behind him at all. So he's somebody that we can use as a building block on the left side. We need to get ourselves a right tackle because we haven't had a decent right tackle since Kareem McKenzie was around. So they need to find themselves that right tackle in this draft. Now, whether it's Ike Ekwonu from North Carolina State, whether it's Evan Neal from Alabama, whether it's Charles Cross from Mississippi State, they need to get themselves a young stud right tackle for this offensive line to build some stability for whoever the quarterback is going to be, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's a rookie that we draft in 2023. We need to get ourselves a foundation on that offensive line. So nobody should be shocked that that's going to be one of our first picks, either at pick 5 or pick 7. And in terms of the other pick, maybe there's a possibility we double up on offensive line and we go, if Ike's there at 5, maybe we draft him at 5, and then we drop down to 7, and maybe there's a possibility we draft either Charles Cross or an Evan Neal. You move Ike to left guard, and you can make Neal or Cross your right tackle. Or maybe there's a possibility that you can go cornerback, depending on what happens with the Bradbury situation. Sauce Gardner has been a player that the Giants have really liked over this time. They've had a couple of meetings with him, and he's definitely a person that could fit Wink's system, being a tall, quick, very good in coverage corner who didn't give up a touchdown at all this past season. Maybe they go pass rush, something that this team has lacked in terms for years is a solid, stable pass rusher. Azeez Ojulari had 8 sacks in his rookie year, but a lot of people, a lot of the fans in the organization maybe think of him as a good complementary second pass rusher, but not quite, a dominant number 1. So maybe in this draft we can find a Jermaine Johnson, a Kayvon Thibodeaux. David Ajabo would have been a nice one, but he got injured, so who knows how much they really think of him. A George Karlaftis possibility. And also, you need to get that pass rusher on the outside to maybe help out Leonard Williams, who was facing a lot of double teams last year because there was really no proven outside linebacker that was a consistent pass rusher until Azeez Ojulari started to develop and started to get pressure on the quarterback, so then it opened up some things for Leonard Williams. So you need that pass rusher on the outside to help gain those double teams to open up things for Leonard Williams and even Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line. And I definitely think that they're going to go after another interior offensive lineman. It just depends on, with the signings they made this offseason, if they're going to target that maybe more into the 3rd to 5th round range, or if they're thinking about maybe going into the 2nd round, possibly even making a trade up. If they can acquire some draft picks from a possible trade down from 5 or 7, maybe they decide to trade up into the 2nd round again and possibly go for a Zion Johnson, maybe a Keelan Green, could possibly even a Tyler Linderbaum, depending on how far he falls. So I think that's the realm we're going to go at. They definitely need to get themselves a tight end. I know we signed Ricky Seals-Jones in the offseason, but he's more of a blocking tight end and probably a number 2 at best. So they need to get themselves a true number 1 tight end for Daniel Jones underneath. And definitely need some more wide receiver depth because Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, when healthy, they could be a very good trio at wide receiver, but that's the problem. They're not healthy. What are we going to do at the running back position? Saquon Barkley is making $7 million this year. We know the talent he has, but this guy is also coming off some injuries these past few seasons, whether it's an ankle injury in 2019, the torn ACL in 2020, and then stepping on a Cowboys player in 2021 and being out for multiple weeks with another ankle injury. So we don't know if Barkley's even a guarantee to be on this team when the 2022 season starts. So that's another thing right there we got to think about. Is Saquon Barkley a guarantee to be on this team, or do we maybe go for a running back in the mid-rounds like a James Cook, a Jerome Ford? So the Giants have their options open right now in terms of what they were thinking about doing in the draft. And then obviously, like I mentioned earlier, you can't discount a trade down because this team right now currently has 9 draft picks, but still a bunch of holes on this team, and the depth on this team is still a question. So will the Giants entertain a trade down from 5 or 7 in case a quarterback needy team wants to go up and try to, inquire for a Malik Willis, a Matt Corral, a Sam Howell, a Desmond Ridder, a Kenny Pickett, any one of these quarterbacks that are starting to get some recognition now. No, this quarterback class is weak, but we all know when the draft gets closer, teams start to get desperate and think about maybe drafting a quarterback. So that's just a couple of my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Hit the like button if you see this, and appreciate everything. And thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys later. Big Blue forever.